This is the Tom Baby Tales, and I'm your host, Shannon Evans. I write about a small town in northeast Mississippi called Columbus. Sometimes I write about the rest of the state. This episode is about a member of the greatest generation who lived here in Columbus, Mississippi, Colonel Glynn Franklin Shumake. Today we're going to dive into his extraordinary career, whose service spanned World War II skies, a POW camp, and the historic Berlin airlift. Born on May 11, 1915, in Hurd, Georgia, to James and Willie Bell Folds, Shumake was part of a generation that would soon be called upon for the greatest conflict the world had ever known. In 1940, as global tensions escalated, Glynn enlisted in the Army Air Corps. His journey to becoming a pilot began the following year. In 1941, when he went through the AAC training at the legendary Brooks Field in Texas. This was the start of a nearly 3-decade career in service to his country. As a World War II veteran, Shumake found his calling behind the controls of the mighty B-17 Flying Fortress bomber. Records show an incredible level of dedication. He was assigned to the 303rd Bomb Group and flew as a lead crew pilot and air commander on an impressive 31 of his 37 credited combat missions. The stakes were always impossibly high. He was a key figure in his unit, serving as the 358th Squadron Ops Officer and later as a commanding officer. Major Shumake, at the time, volunteered for a second combat tour immediately after completing his first tour, a testament to his commitment to the war effort. His duty took him over 37 dangerous missions over Germany, but his final mission was one he would never forget. The legendary B-17s that he flew they were B-17Gs, and the one that he was on his last mission was a turretless B-17, but he belonged to what was called the real Hells Angels of the 303rd Bomb Group. Shumake flew with this 303rd Bomb Group, who famously called Hells Angels. This group was one of the most distinguished heavy bombardment units of World War II, based out of Molesworth, England. They were known for their exceptional performance, and a number of their B-17 Flying Fortresses became famous in their own right. Shumake's own plane, the Bouncing Betty No. 3, which he flew on his final fateful mission, adds its names to this list of legends. Here's some of the other most celebrated aircraft of the Hells Angels group. There was Hells Angel itself, which was a B-17F, tail number 4124577. This is the aircraft that the group got its name from. It was the first heavy bomber of the 8th Air Force to complete 25 combat missions in the European theater, achieving this feat on May 13, 1943. This was 6 days before the much more famous Memphis Belle completed its 25th mission. Hells Angel went on to a total of 48 missions before returning to the U.S. for a war bond tour. The next one was Knockout Dropper, B-17F, tail number 4124605. This fortress was the first aircraft in the 8th Air Force to complete both 50 and 75 combat missions. It was a true workhorse of the European skies. Thunderbird, a B-17G, tail number 4238050. Thunderbird was one of the few B-17s to survive the war and fly over 100 missions, showcasing its incredible durability and the dedication of its crews and ground personnel. These aircraft, along with Shumake's Bouncing Betty No. 3, represent the might and dedication of the 303rd Bomb Group, a unit that flew more missions than any other B-17 group in the 8th Air Force. On May 30th, 1945, with the end of the war in Europe just weeks away, Major Shumake, serving as the mission air commander and flying as co-pilot, was on a mission to Bremen, Germany. The B-17G was hit by flak over the target, sustaining major damage to the right wing and gas tanks. The crew was forced to crash land the crippled bomber in a wheat field on the east bank of the Rhine River. All 10 crewmen were uninjured, but they were immediately captured by German troops. Shumake, along with the rest of the crew, became a POW, a prisoner of war, held in a camp near Barth, Germany, until the war fully concluded. With the war won and his safe return home, many would have chosen a quiet life, but not Glynn Shumake. He was an officer who was committed to duty. Just a few years later, in 1948, the Soviet blockade of West Berlin began. The Allied response was a massive logistical undertaking known as the Berlin Airlift. Shumake was there, returning to Munich to fly essential missions, piloting a massive C-54 Skymaster carrying food, fuel, and hope to the besieged city of Berlin. It was a mission of peace, demanding the same courage and flying skills he'd shown in combat. Later in his career, he would go on to pilot the iconic B-52 Stratofortress jet bomber. Throughout his distinguished service, Glynn was decorated for his efforts, including the coveted Presidential Unit Citation. In his personal life, he married Josie Slaughter, and together they had 2 daughters. His commitment to his family was matched by his dedication to the military. He retired from the U.S. Air Force as a lieutenant colonel, but immediately continued his service in the Air Force Reserves. Following his retirement from the Air Force Reserves as a colonel in 1975, Shumake turned his attention to his community in Mississippi, transitioning from the cockpit to the halls of government and finance. In the Mississippi legislature, Shumake served as a member, specifically in the House of Representatives, bringing the same sense of duty and leadership home through his military career. He worked to represent his constituents and to shape state policy. But beyond politics, he became a prominent figure in the local financial sector. He served as a director and chairman of the board at First Columbus National Bank, demonstrating a capability to lead and manage complex operations that mirrored his experience commanding missions in the air. This second career highlights his commitment to community and business growth long after his military service concluded. Shumake's story is one of resilience, courage, and unwavering dedication, from a man enlisting in 1940 to a decorated colonel who helped secure freedom both in war and in the tense peace that followed. The remarkable life of Colonel Glynn Franklin Shumake is not just one of aerial combat and daring escapes, but also of dedicated service in the political and financial arenas back home. Truly, he was a member of the greatest generation. I want to thank you for coming on my podcast, The Tom Bigby Tales. Until next time.